Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. Chinatown wasn't just another neo-noir film. It was a brutal excavation of power, corruption, and decay hiding beneath Los Angeles sunshine. What audiences didn't see was the chaos erupting behind the camera, casting battles, dangerous stunts, studio clashes, and a director who pushed everyone to their limits. Today, we're exposing 20 shocking things you didn't know about Chinatown, 1974. From dangerous set conditions to hidden studio sabotage, these revelations will change the way you watch this classic forever. And stick around for the bonus fact, a secret so strange and twisted, it mirrors the movie's own plot. Let's dive in. Jack Nicholson wrote Evelyn's fate. It wasn't just screenwriter Robert Towne crafting Evelyn Mulwray's tragic end. Nicholson himself pushed Polanski to keep her death. Towne wanted a more redemptive finale where justice triumphed. Nicholson disagreed. He argued life in Los Angeles didn't work that way. Power always won. Polanski sided with Nicholson. That chilling final gunshot wasn't inevitable. It was born of late-night debates in smoky trailers. Without Nicholson's input, Chinatown might have ended on hope, not horror. The choice cemented the movie's reputation as the bleakest noir of the 1970s. Audiences left theaters gutted, and critics called it a master stroke of nihilism. Nicholson didn't just star in Chinatown. He carved its fatalistic soul, Faye Dunaway's ice-cold war with Polanski. On set, Faye Dunaway and director Roman Polanski clashed brutally. Dunaway complained of Polanski's obsessive control. He refused to let her adjust even a strand of hair without approval. In one infamous incident, Polanski yanked a stray hair from her head mid-take, shocking everyone. Dunaway later claimed he humiliated her publicly, calling her difficult. Polanski accused her of vanity. Their battles seeped into her performance, icy, brittle, and emotionally raw. What audiences didn't know, that tension was real. Dunaway later admitted she hated the shoot but recognized it shaped one of her greatest roles. The war between actress and director became part of Hollywood legend, the real Los Angeles water scandal. Chinatown wasn't pure fiction. It drew from the true California water wars, where L.A. tycoons manipulated water rights, starving farmers to feed urban growth. Polanski and Towne didn't just build a noir fantasy, they ripped from headlines, embedding historical theft into the script. The Mulwray conspiracy mirrored William Mulholland's real-life aqueduct project. Audiences felt unease not only from murder and incest, but from recognizing history's fingerprints. The film's haunting realism came from this hidden truth. Chinatown exposed the foundation of Los Angeles itself. Jack Nicholson's secret set disappearance. Nicholson vanished for hours during filming, enraging Polanski. The reason? He was sneaking away to watch Los Angeles Lakers games. Nicholson, a die-hard fan, even left Dunaway waiting on set while he caught basketball. Polanski raged about wasted call sheets and lost light. Crew members joked the Lakers were Nicholson's real co-stars. This indulgence almost fractured shooting schedules, but Nicholson always returned with renewed energy. Ironically, his basketball obsession mirrored Jake Gitta's character, reckless, distracted, yet always sharp when it mattered. What could have derailed the film became another strange quirk woven into its chaotic creation. Polanski's insistence on painful realism. Polanski demanded authenticity at all costs. In one brutal scene where Nicholson's Gittes gets his nose sliced, Polanski himself played the knife-wielding thug. He insisted on holding the blade close enough to actually cut Nicholson. The resulting injury forced Nicholson to wear bandages for half the film, exactly as Polanski wanted. The swollen, broken nose look wasn't makeup. It was Nicholson's real suffering captured on dailies. Audiences gasped at the gruesome wound, never realizing the danger behind it. For Polanski, realism mattered more than comfort. The scar left an indelible mark on Nicholson's face and on the film's legacy, a slap heard around Hollywood. One of the most shocking moments on screen is when Jake slaps Evelyn until she reveals the truth about her daughter. What audiences didn't know is that Polanski pushed for real slaps. Dunaway begged for stage hits. but Polanski insisted Nicholson strike her harder with each take. Nicholson, visibly uncomfortable, tried to hold back. Polanski, however, goaded him on, saying the scene needed brutality. The raw, trembling reaction we see in Dunaway's performance wasn't acting. It was pain and rage. Crew members whispered that the director had crossed a line. That slap became symbolic of Polanski's relentless pursuit of realism, no matter the emotional cost. The result was unforgettable cinema, but it left scars that Dunaway carried long after the cameras stopped rolling. The missing ending Town hated. Screenwriter Robert Towne envisioned a very different conclusion. In his draft, Evelyn drives away to safety, her daughter in the passenger seat. The villains face justice, and Gittes finds redemption. But Polanski rejected this happy ending, calling it sentimental. He insisted Evelyn die in Chinatown, arguing that, in life, corruption always wins. Towne fought bitterly, but Nicholson sided with Polanski. Studio executives reluctantly agreed. The rewritten finale shocked audiences, who staggered out of theaters devastated. Towne later admitted he never forgave Polanski for altering his script. Ironically, the bleak ending is now hailed as one of the most powerful in cinema history. A victory for Polanski's vision, but a defeat Towne never stopped resenting. The heat that broke the crew. Los Angeles in summer was merciless, and Chinatown filmed during a blistering heat wave. Cast and crew sweated through wool suits, silk dresses, and heavy makeup under glaring lights. Temperatures soared past 100 degrees on location. Polanski refused to halt shooting, demanding authenticity in the city's haze. Jack Nicholson joked the real villain wasn't Noah Cross, it was the heat. Extras fainted, Dunaway's makeup melted, and camera operators soaked their shirts in ice between takes. Yet the shimmering heat waves gave the film its dry, parched look. What felt like torture on set translated into atmosphere on screen. The city itself became a character, merciless, exhausted, and cracking under the sun. Dunaway's infamous cup incident. The tension between Polanski and Dunaway reached its peak during one infamous clash. Dunaway, exhausted and dehydrated, asked for a bathroom break. Polanski refused, saying it would delay shooting. Minutes later, Dunaway reportedly hurled a cup of urine at him, splashing his shirt. Crew members gasped in disbelief. Dunaway stormed off, and Polanski laughed it off with a crude joke. Hollywood gossips later exaggerated the story, but insiders confirmed it happened. The scandal cemented their toxic dynamic, a war of wills that powered Evelyn's fragility on screen. Audiences saw trembling nerves and simmering rage, but much of it came straight from reality. Nicholson's real-life affair shaped his role. Jack Nicholson wasn't just acting as a man entangled in forbidden affairs, he was living it. During filming, Nicholson was involved with Angelica Houston, daughter of legendary director John Huston, who played villain Noah Cross. Their relationship was volatile, filled with jealousy and passion. On set, Nicholson often faced Huston's father across the camera, blurring fiction and reality. Imagine it, Nicholson's character investigating the corruption of a man played by his girlfriend's father. The tension was palpable, and Nicholson leaned into it, delivering sly glares and sharp retorts. What audiences didn't realize is that Chinatown was layered with personal conflict as much as scripted drama, the studio's secret panic. Paramount executives weren't confident in Chinatown. Early test screenings left some audiences baffled and disturbed. Viewers complained about the bleak ending and the incest revelation. Executives begged Polanski to soften the finale, fearing box office disaster. But Polanski refused, threatening to walk away. Jack Nicholson backed him, saying, "If you change the ending, you got the movie." Against all odds, the studio relented. The gamble paid off. Instead of alienating audiences, the shocking conclusion became Chinatown's defining moment. It turned a risky noir into an instant classic. What executives thought would sink the film is what made it immortal. Real blood in the nose scene. When Gittes has his nose sliced, audiences saw Jack Nicholson's face swollen and stuffed with bandages. That wasn't Hollywood magic. The cut was real, inflicted by Roman Polanski himself, who insisted on playing the knife-wielding thug. Though he didn't pierce deep, the wound bled enough to disrupt filming. Nicholson had to wear uncomfortable nasal packing for continuity. Crew members whispered Polanski enjoyed the sadistic symbolism, directly wounding his star. The result? Nicholson's muffled, nasally voice throughout the film wasn't an affectation. It was genuine discomfort captured on dailies, pain turned into performance, blurring the line between acting and reality. The car chase disaster. The harrowing sequence where Gitas tails Evelyn through Los Angeles nearly collapsed during shooting. Filming on real streets at night, the crew had no permits for certain blocks. Cars roared through intersections at unsafe speeds, and stunt drivers barely avoided collisions. Nicholson himself performed some driving, swerving dangerously close to parked vehicles. Polanski refused to use rear projection, insisting on authentic city streets. One near miss left Dunaway screaming for real as tires screeched inches from disaster. Those chaotic, jittery shots weren't staged panic, they were genuine. Audiences felt adrenaline because the actors themselves feared catastrophe. The car chase wasn't Hollywood polish, it was barely controlled chaos. John Huston's creepy method. As Noah Cross, John Huston exuded charm laced with menace. But off-camera, his behavior unsettled cast and crew. Huston would sometimes stay in character between takes, making lewd remarks to actresses and unsettling Dunaway. Nicholson later admitted it added to the discomfort on set, saying Huston was too convincing. Huston's commanding presence made scenes between Cross and Evelyn almost unbearable to film. The blurred line between role and reality heightened the movie's disturbing climax. What audiences saw as masterful villainy came with a price. The actors were genuinely unnerved. Huston didn't just play corruption, he embodied it, leaving shadows that lingered long after filming wrapped. The soundtrack that almost wasn't. Jerry Goldsmith's now iconic score wasn't the original plan. Composer Philip Lambro wrote the first soundtrack, but test audiences hated it, calling it flat and distracting. With just 10 days before release, Polanski fired Lambro and hired Goldsmith. Goldsmith wrote and recorded the replacement score in less than 2 weeks. His mournful trumpet theme redefined the film, adding elegance to its brutality. Without that last-minute change, Chinatown might have sounded ordinary instead of haunting. Goldsmith's music became as iconic as Nicholson's bandaged nose. What was almost a production disaster turned into one of cinema's most famous scores, Nicholson's Diet of Chaos. Jack Nicholson lived like a noir anti-hero during production. He barely slept, fueled by late-night poker games, cigarettes, and whiskey. Crew members joked he was method acting, exhaustion. Yet his weary eyes and raspy delivery gave Jake Gitta's authenticity. Nicholson's lifestyle clashed with Polanski's rigid discipline, sparking tension on set. The director wanted precision. Nicholson embodied improvisation. Their clashing styles produced electricity on screen. What audiences saw as the world-weary detective wasn't costume or makeup. It was Nicholson running on fumes, pushing his body to the limit. He lived the corruption and chaos he investigated, a cameo with symbolism. Roman Polanski's cameo as the knife-wielding thug wasn't vanity, it was metaphor. By literally cutting Jake Gitta's, Polanski branded the film with his control. Nicholson later admitted he found it unnerving, calling it personal. Polanski didn't just direct pain, he delivered it with his own hands. The cameo turned into one of the most infamous director appearances in film history. It symbolized the story's theme, power figures leaving scars on those who dig too deep. Audiences remember Gitas's bandaged nose as a noir trademark, but behind it was Polanski's brutal reminder of who controlled the story. The deleted scenes that vanished. Few fans know Chinatown had nearly 20 minutes cut before release. These scenes showed more of Gitta's backstory and Evelyn's fragility. Polanski argued they slowed the pacing, and the studio agreed. The footage vanished into vaults, never released in full. Crew who saw the deleted reels say they revealed a softer side of Nicholson's character, smiling, joking, more human. But Polanski stripped it all away, leaving audiences with a hardened detective trapped in corruption. The missing reels haunt cinephiles who wonder if Chinatown could have been even richer, or whether its power lies in what we don't see. Dunaway's eye secret. Evelyn Mulwray's eye, with its mysterious flaw, became one of the film's most haunting details. But the choice wasn't written in the original script. Faye Dunaway suggested it herself, wanting Evelyn's trauma to have a subtle physical mark. Polanski loved the idea but kept it vague, never explaining it outright. Viewers speculated endlessly. Was it injury? Was it symbolism for corruption? Dunaway later admitted she wanted audiences unsettled by Evelyn's imperfect beauty. That tiny detail gave the character depth without dialogue. What seems like a minor quirk was actually an actress's invention that rippled through film history. The Oscar that slipped away. Chinatown was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, yet it won only one, for Best Original Screenplay. Nicholson lost Best Actor, Dunaway lost Best Actress, and Polanski lost Best Director. Why? Insiders claimed the Academy found the film too dark, too disturbing. The industry wasn't ready to reward such nihilism. Nicholson reportedly hid his disappointment by throwing an all-night party. Decades later, critics declared Chinatown one of the greatest films ever made, while many of its Oscar competitors faded into obscurity. The Academy missed its chance, but history didn't. The film outlasted awards, embedding itself in cultural memory, the script that predicted Polanski's future. Here's the most chilling secret. Chinatown wasn't just a story about corruption and abuse. It eerily foreshadowed Roman Polanski's own downfall. The film exposed predatory power, men who exploit the vulnerable, and a system that protects the guilty. Just a few years later, Polanski himself was accused of crimes strikingly similar to Noah Cross's unchecked violations. Critics later called Chinatown a prophecy, the director unconsciously scripting his own future. It wasn't just noir on screen. It was a mirror reflecting horrors yet to come. That eerie connection remains one of cinema's darkest coincidences. Chinatown was never just a detective story. It was a brutal parable about corruption, power, and the futility of justice. Behind the camera, it was even darker. Chaos, clashes, danger, and secrets that scarred everyone involved. The film's legacy isn't clean. It's as tainted and unforgettable as the city it exposed. So if you want more stories where Hollywood's shine hides shadows, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because in the end, forget it, it's Chinatown.